Welcome to Azeroth United, a weekly podcast about World of Warcraft. My name is Denethar, and I am your host.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. It's Monday night in Azeroth, and we have a great show lined up for you. We've got a little bit of a special episode today. We are going to be talking with McFaithful. He's the guild master of the Adept Scholars Society, which is one of the largest guilds on the Anniversary Classic servers right now. They're based on the Dreamsight server, and he's also my guild master. And we're going to be talking about running a large guild, the ups and downs of that, classic, gaming in general, and just really having a good conversation. So hopefully enjoy that. We've got some news to go over with regards to player housing and some things coming in the next few weeks before patch 11.2 drops, the Ghost of Koresh. So we'll be talking about that as well. And yeah, that'll be the show. So I'll have timestamps down below if you want to skip ahead to the interview, or if you want to listen to the whole show, it's up to you. But yeah, hopefully you enjoy. All right, before I jump into the news, I'd like to do a quick rundown of what I got up to last week in World of Warcraft, because it was pretty much all bug farming. So I believe I mentioned this last week, but we're trying to do 5 Scarab Lords in the guild. And it's obviously a challenge because that's a lot of bug parts. I think if somebody said it was like 42,000 bug parts each. So yeah, that's a lot of bug parts. So basically the whole guild, anybody who's able to, has been going down to Sylvis to farm the bug parts. But it's been fun. We're all getting in Discord and chatting and having a good time. Some folks decided a PvP flag for a while, and so we had some combat with the Horde. Although Dreamsight is a little more Alliance heavy, so if the Horde could pick us off, they would. But anytime we came at them in force, they would just retreat back to Cenarion Hold. So, you know, I mean, that's world PvP. That's how it goes. But yeah, it was fun. And yes, the bug farming is the grinding is monotonous and it's boring, and I will grant you that. But it's been nice as a guild to be able to just get together and really just have a good time and spend time together and get to know some of the people that I hadn't really talked to in the guild previously, because they're in different raid teams. So yeah, by and large, I'm really enjoying the camaraderie of the guild and working on this whole Scarab Lord achievement. So yeah, or the 5 Scarab Lord achievement. It's been pretty fun. Aside from that, I did do so. Blizzard didn't screw up. The streamer guild screwed up. They ran Blackwing Lair early and stopped before Broodlord, thinking they were going to get a speed boost on the bug farming. So what happened is when you zone into Blackwing Lair, all the loot spawns. So the bosses already know what they're going to drop. So if you log into Blackwing Lair before the war effort starts, the Broodlord will spawn without his head as a drop, because that only happens after the war effort. So what happened is these guilds who went in early, they ended up not getting the head, and that means they're going to be a week behind on the bug farming, and that was a big problem. So Blizzard, because we all know they catered to streamer guilds, they decided to give us an extra lockout. I think we got 2 extra lockouts for Blackwing Lair, which was cool. So we went in on Thursday after the war effort started. We got the Broodlord's head. I went in again with a different group on Friday, and we got we cleared that. But I didn't get anything on Thursday, but on Friday I actually got the Dragonstalker shoulders and the crossbow from the Ashrethul, however you say it, crossbow. So that's really cool. I was really happy about that. Now I got to start putting together my my Biznix scope, which is going to be fun. But yeah, it was a good week as far as the anniversary servers go. On retail, because of the bug farming, I've really just took a break from retail this week, and all I did was my Turbulent Timeways, refreshing my Turbulent Timeways buff. I didn't even do my 5 to get the piece of hero gear at the end of it. I also don't really care for the Warlords of Draenor dungeons. I know that I've said in the past that was one of the best parts of Warlords of Draenor, but honestly, I could do without them and time walking. Honestly, you could just skip that. Give me Wrath Lich King in like 3 weeks and I'll be good. It's just not fun. So anyway, but yeah, that was about it. I didn't do much else, which is a bummer because I did want to get in some more mount farming, but I just, doing the bug farming, that took up all my time. And honestly, the mount farming is fun, but like I've said previously, that's not my whole bag. Like, I'm not interested in collecting a bunch of mounts. When I have my character, some of them have special mounts. Most of them just ride the generic griffin or the generic horse or cat. Nothing special. So I'm a basic bitch. That's who I am. So anyway, yeah, that's about it. All right, so let's jump into the news because we do have some news to talk about, and then we'll get into this interview with McFaithful. It's a really good interview, and hopefully enjoy it. So here you go.
It's time for the news.
In Blizzard news, so the let's start off with the new Twitch drop. So we've got a Twitch drop coming in starting today, actually, July 14th. It is the Adorned Half Shell transmog. So it's the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles back piece. So if you're not familiar with the Twitch drops, you can get it. If you watch 4 hours of Twitch streaming, you have to link your Battle.net account to your Twitch account, which is pretty easy to do. Blizzard has instructions that I will put in the show notes. So if you're not clear on how to do that, click on the link and it will walk you through the process pretty quickly. If you picked up all of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle weapons from the trading post, but for whatever reason you didn't get the shell, this one's a slightly more adorned version of that. So you'll be able to get that and cosplay as your favorite Ninja Turtle, especially if you're an orc, because the green, it just works. It doesn't look right on a goblin or a troll. So pretty much orc is your choice if you want to go full on Ninja Turtle cosplay. But you could really do it with anyone. It's up to you, however you want to play World of Warcraft. I'm not your dad. I can't tell you how to play. So yeah, check that out. 4 hours of Twitch streaming from July 14th to August 11th. So you've got a few weeks to do it. It's going to end right before the season starts, before the raid comes out. So yeah, enjoy that. In classic WoW news, so as I mentioned previously, the AQ war effort is now live. There was some speculation on the server on the Discord about how quickly the war effort would be completed, and I was of the opinion that it's going to get finished right away. And because so many people are trying to get Scarab Lord, none of the big guilds are trying to finish the war effort. Everyone's kind of like, just hold off a little bit longer. Let us farm some more bug parts. So there's this weird waiting game as people are turning in linen bandages and wool bandages and copper bars. Slowly, low-level characters turning that stuff in, trying to get it finished. It's really interesting to me to see how the community can all kind of agree on, all right, here's what we're all going to agree to do, because we all want the Scarab Lord. If you're not familiar with the Scarab Lord, I'm going to put a link to the Platinum WoW video that he did a few years ago about Scarab Lord. It's a fantastic video. If you like Platinum WoW and his sense of humor, I definitely suggest giving it a watch. If you don't like his sense of humor, then don't watch it, because this is one of he's like full on Platinum WoW mode in this video. So if you're curious about that and what it takes to become a Scarab Lord, definitely watch the video. It's worthwhile. So I'd do a video myself, but I really don't want to. So there you go. All right, the Winds of Mysterious Fortune is returning to Modern WoW. This is going to run from July 15th to August 12th. So again, this is going to run until just before it's going to start on reset on Tuesday, and it's going to run until reset on the week before the raid comes out. So here's what you're going to get from the Winds of Mysterious Fortune. Experience gains increased by 20% for levels 10 through 79. If you are leveling up an alt, if you are, you have your characters who are level 70 in Dragonflight and you're just trying to get them up, it'll pretty much work for anyone once you've completed the starting area. Dragonflight reputations will be increased by 200%. War Within reputations will be increased by 100%. And when you are doing things on the Dragon Isles or in Khazalgar, on any character who's a leveling character, so if you have the buff, you have a chance to get a mysterious satchel, which you could contain equipment, cosmetics, combat potions, and experience potions. The experience potion will increase your XP buff to 10% more, so that'll go from 20% to 30%. If you combine all of your XP buffs available right now, so you have the Winds of Mysterious Fortune, at 20%. The experience potion will give you an extra 10%. The mastery of timeways from doing turbulent timeways gives you 30%. And your warband, if you have 5 characters already, will give you an extra 25%. That's 85% XP boost. This is the time to level alts, people. Right now, level your alts up. You're not going to get a better chance than this until, before the next expansion when they launch Legion Remix. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about your current existing alts. If you've got that level 27 Paladin that you've always wanted to level up, but you didn't because they were a Culturian and you don't want to play a fat human, now's the time. Level that big boy up. Get it going. Come on. It's time. All right. Hey, I'm not here to judge anyone. I'm a big boy too. Okay. The World of Warcraft novella, The Doom of Koresh, has been released by Blizzard. This is a novella written by Adam Christopher. There is YouTube videos for the audio version of this, voiced by Ray Porter, who is the voice actor for Locust Walker. So if you like that, it's definitely worth a listen. I really enjoyed it. Without spoiling the whole story, let's just say Locust Walker goes into more detail about exactly what happened with Koresh when they heard the Radiant Song and what happened to their world soul and what made the Ethereals and the Brokers into the beings that they are today, because they weren't originally that way. So it's definitely worth a listen or read if that's if you know how to read. I don't know, maybe you don't. I'm not here to judge you again. But if you want to check that out, it also gives us the origins of the Rashii wraps that we're going to be using as our artifact cloak in patch 11.2. So really good stuff here. I love Locust Walker. I think he's great. We have some cameos. We've got Pandaria. We've got Kaveza. It's really good. So definitely check that out if you are interested in the lore behind the upcoming patch in 11.2. I really think the Ethereals are interesting. And even back in Burning Crusade, I was like, okay, who the heck are these guys? So it's really good to kind of get that backstory finally after all these years. So, all right, here's the big news from the week. Blizzard released a new blog article about player housing, and it's titled "Everything About Neighborhoods in Midnight's Player Housing." So yeah, this is all about the neighborhood, where your house is going to be. So we know that there's going to be an Alliance neighborhood outside of Stormwind and a Horde neighborhood outside of Orgrimmar. That was pretty much all we knew. The Alliance neighborhood is going to be called Founders Point. Or the area where you're going to have your neighborhood. The Horde area is going to be called Razorwind Shores. But here's the things that they're going to do about neighborhoods. So first off, there's 2 different kinds of neighborhoods. There's public neighborhoods and there are private neighborhoods. Public neighborhoods are the ones that are created by the game server. They're just automatically generated as the need arises for more neighborhoods. I'm not sure if Blizzard is going to have, here's 20 neighborhoods. Everybody go pick what you want. There's definitely going to be some vying for some of the better housing areas. And Blizzard is creating the houses in a way that, so there'll be some parts of the neighborhood where maybe it's a cul-de-sac. So you have a bunch of houses near each other, like living in the suburbs. There's going to be houses that are on cliffs. There's going to be houses that are alone in a spooky woods. There's all sorts of interesting things. That's just the Alliance side. On the Horde side, there's going to be houses surrounded by brown. There's going to be houses surrounded by orange and houses surrounded by more brown. So, and they're going to have spikes. I mean, I'm hoping that we get a little bit more. The pictures that they gave us, the Horde houses all looked the same. They looked like a warrior house with spikes. So hopefully your Blood Elf or your Volpera doesn't mind living in a orc spike house. And it's just how it goes. So a few details about the public neighborhoods. Anyone can buy a house in the neighborhood. You don't actually have to, it's not going to cost you a lot. It's probably just a handful of gold. We don't know the actual cost of it, but they wanted it to be non-prohibitive. As you fill up a neighborhood, they're going to create new instances. So you'll never be at a point where you're like, oh man, there's housing is full. I've got to wait. I've got to bid. The only thing that you might run into is if there are no neighborhoods with the particular plot of land that you want. But you know what? That's just like real life. You know, I want to live in the rich neighborhood, but you know, there were no houses available that I could just go claim. So I guess I'm going to have to live in the slums. So, and then all of the components of the neighborhood, the public neighborhoods, are going to be managed by the game server. So players can just show up and live there happily. And the only thing that you're really going to gonna do in a public neighborhood is participate in the endeavors, and we'll talk about that in just a second. In the private neighborhoods, these are created and owned by players. So there are two types of private neighborhoods. There are the guild neighborhoods. So if you're in a guild, and we don't know the size limitation, and Blizzard has said that they're not going to create private neighborhoods for one person or two people, but they're not giving us a specific on how many. So if you're in a guild, you'll be able to join the guild neighborhood, assuming one is created by the guild master, and you'll be able to put your house somewhere in the guild, and there will be enough houses for everybody in the guild. And as more people join the guild, it will just spawn more instances to create more housing, which is really cool. The other type of private neighborhood is the charter neighborhood. And this is just a group of friends, maybe a streamer group, maybe a Discord group, your Mythic Plus group. You're all in your individual guilds, but you get together to do Mythic Plus. That can be a charter neighborhood. And again, that's created by players. Everything is controlled by the players. You have to manually control who can come in and out. So you have to invite someone to a charter neighborhood. You can also kick them out. And there's going to be a cap on the number of plots, which we believe to be 50 currently, but that's still not clear. The only difference, and again, we'll talk about endeavors in a second, but the players, whoever the owner is for the private neighborhood, is going to control the endeavors, and they're also going to be able to name the neighborhood themselves, whereas the public neighborhoods are going to have a randomly generated or procedurally generated name. So, if you want a really cool neighborhood name, Da Hood, or South Side, or whatever it is you want to call your neighborhood, you can do that in a private one. But in a public one, it's just going to be Flourishing Meadows or Spankalicious, whatever, Sunbeam. All right, so a couple of questions that they put on here. What happens if I don't like my neighbors or my neighborhood? Good question. You can move your house at any time. You can say, I don't want to live here anymore. You pack up your house, your entire house gets saved, and when you pick your new neighborhood, you put your house in, and it puts your house exactly like it was in your old neighborhood. But before you do that, before you go into the new neighborhood, you have a regret timer. So you can pack up your house, start shopping for a new neighborhood, and go, you know what? There's nothing good out here. I'm going to go back to my old neighborhood. If your regret timer is still active, you can put your house exactly back where it was and go back to your old neighborhood. So you can go back home in this case. But we don't know how long the regret timer is going to be. But again, this is something that Blizzard is putting out there as a, hey, we know people are going to want to shop around, and you can't really shop around unless if you already have a house. So this is their way of handling that. Can people just walk into my house or my yard? No, unless you let them. So your house and your yard have independent permissions. So you can say, I allow my friends to come into my house, allow my guild to come into my house, allow everyone to come into my house. You can do however you want. They give the example of maybe you have a book club meeting for your private book club in the afternoon, and then you want to have a big party in the evening. You can change those permissions from here only to my book club group to now to everybody. So that's a really cool thing that you can do in the interface for your house. And you can change those at any time and be really specific about who it is you want to add in. So I think Blizzard has done a lot of thinking about this. They've obviously put a tremendous amount of work in, and they're listening to feedback. So if you get into this blog post and you start reading it and you go, wow, that sounds terrible, let them know, give them the feedback, because that's what they want. Okay, finally, let's talk about the endeavors. So it's Blizzard. There has to be a rep grind, and there has to be a currency. So the endeavors is their way of giving you things to do that will essentially function as a rep grind. So it's going to be a neighborhood-wide activity. It's going to be roughly once a month. And what will happen is a different culture from around Azeroth will show up and offer some tasks for you to complete. And as you complete those tasks, you're going to increase your reputation with this faction, or however it's going to work. And if you complete all of the tasks, think of it like the Traveler's Log. As you go through and do your Traveler's Log, maybe you run a dungeon, maybe you run a delve, maybe you complete some world quests, whatever it is, you do those things. And this is a neighborhood-wide thing. So everybody in the neighborhood is going to add to that. If you have 50 people in your neighborhood, then 50 people are going to be doing tasks to complete it. It's going to scale with the size of the neighborhood too. So if you have a small neighborhood, you have to complete fewer tasks. Or if you have a large neighborhood, but it's very inactive, again, you'll have to complete fewer tasks for this to finish the task list for the endeavor. Once you do that, the NPCs for whatever zone it is, they're going to come in and they're going to offer you different decorations that you can choose from. Once you complete everything, you'll be able to permanently purchase those decorations and have them available to you. Now, here's the really tricky part. Doing the endeavor, when you do those tasks, you're going to gain a currency, and that currency is what you use to buy the decorations. So if you are just hoping that your neighborhood will complete all the tasks for you, you can do that, but then you won't have enough currency to buy any of the decorations. So I would definitely recommend completing that. And Blizzard can't just give us a system without putting in a rep grind and currency. That's just not the way they operate. So that's how it is. And we'll just, give them the feedback. Say, hey, I don't like this. Or, you know what, actually, I think this is really good. The one catch with this, though, is that it looks like as you level up your house by doing the endeavor and by doing these things, you're going to gain something called neighborhood favor. And neighborhood favor is what you're going to actually use to level up your house. And when you do that, it's going to give you buffs to your house, essentially. So one of the things that they showed us on a screenshot was increasing the item limit. So if you think you're going to go into your house and you're going to have a 10,000 item limit, you're not. You're going to basically have a starter house. And as you do endeavors, as you complete these tasks, you're going to gain more neighborhood favor, which will allow you to level up your house. You're going to gain more endeavor currency, which you're going to use to purchase decorations. So the whole system seems like it'll work really well, but we'll have to see, because honestly, I just don't know. And that's it. That's the whole thing with the player housing neighborhoods. Obviously, I'll put the link to the blog post in the show notes, and if you want to read it, you can. But I think it sounds really good. So I'm really excited about player housing. I was not when they first, when people were talking about it. I thought, this is the dumbest thing ever. Why? Who cares? This is stupid. But as Blizzard has revealed more and more information about it, I am more and more excited. So I'm really psyched about this. I'm hoping it goes well and that Blizzard doesn't screw this up like they have with so many other systems in the past. I'm hoping that they've learned from their past mistakes, which I'd say is about 50-50 right now. Where they currently stand. But, they're getting better. It used to be 90-10 of not learning from their mistakes. So they're definitely doing better. All right. That's it for the player housing neighborhoods. Let's move on to this week in World of Warcraft. Okay, this is the War Within Season 2, Week 20. The Mythic Plus affix is for the week. The +4 affix is Devour. Players are periodically affected with a heal absorb while in combat. So this is a really good time to get your, whatever your cleanse is, whatever your decurse is, Ret Paladins, Enhancement Shaman, Mages. Make sure you have your decurse and you're ready to use it. Death Knights, you can use your Anti-Magic Shell. Some classes really don't have a counter for this. So unfortunately, this is a healer affix that is just going to have to be dealt with. So you either have to heal through the absorb or you have to cleanse it. And since cleanses have an 8-second cooldown, it's going to be a lot of extra healing, or you just don't get the buff and the enemies get buffed. So, this one to me is annoying as somebody who's played a healer a lot and had to deal with healer affixes. I don't like this one. But on my Death Knight, it's super easy. You just pop Anti-Magic Shell every time it comes up. And no fuss, no muss. On the Demon Hunter is a pain because I literally have no counter to this affix, which is not fun. So the +7 affix is Fortified. You know it, you love it. You love to see it. Fortified bosses have 25% more health and deal 15% more damage. Those are your affixes for the week. Let's see. So this is week 20. We know now when the new season is going to start. We're going to get through week 22. And then we'll have preseason week 1, which is going to be the week of August 5th. And then we'll start in season 3. So 3 more weeks left of the season. So if you want to get your Raider IO score, if you're trying to get Keystone Legends, or whatever it is that you are hoping to achieve in season 2, I definitely suggest you get on it, get out of those old legacy raids and stop farming mounts, get your Raider IO score up, because this is your last chance to do it. If you don't care, then please go mount farm, log onto your classic characters, make sure your monk is ready to go. Reminder, really quickly, this just made me think of it. If you level up if you level up a panda, you don't have to level up a monk. If you level up any Pandarin character, you miss a Pandaria Classic pre-patch right now, you will get a mount in retail WoW, one of the Cloud Serpents. It's actually a really cool looking Cloud Serpent. But you have to do it before Mr. Pandaria Classic launches on July 21st. So you only have a week more to do it. If you are interested in mounts, I would definitely suggest you knock that out this week. It only takes a couple hours to get through the entire Pandaria starting experience, so it's definitely worth your time if that's something you want to do. All right. I forgot about that last week, and I wanted to throw that in there. The bonus event this week is Legion Time Walking. So you're going to get the Sign of the Legion buff. Legion reputation gains from combat and quests increased by 50%. You can pick up the quest, A Fell Path Through Time from Archivist for Thrune in Dornogal, and that will ask you to defeat 5 Time Walking dungeons, and you will be rewarded with a piece of hero track raid gear. So that's a really good reward if that's something that you are trying to gear up an alts, or if your main character has a few more champion pieces you're trying to replace, it's definitely worth your time. The dungeons are Blackrook Hold, Court of Stars, Darkheart Thicket, Eye of Ashara, Neltharian's Lair, and Vault of Wardens, which I hate, but it's still on there, so there you go. The other bonus event, because we're in turbulent timeways right now, so sometimes we'll get 2 bonus events. So this is the Battleground bonus event. You're going to get the buff Sign of Battle, which will increase honor gains from battlegrounds and objectives by 50%. Call to Battle is the quest that you can pick up from Argos for Thrune in Dornogal to win 4 battleground matches, and you'll be rewarded with Conquest and Marks of Honor. So that's pretty cool. The PvP brawl for the week is Gravity Lapse. Gravity getting you down, step into the Eye of Storm, and be prepared for a whole new enlightening experience. Every minute, players on the battlefield will find themselves launched into the air, only to gently fall toward the ground again in a perpetual aerial ballet as they try to accrue enough resources to take the win home for their team. This one sucks because it's just Eye of the Storm with the Kael'thas gravity effect, where you get thrown up in the air and you have to like swim, fly around. And then it'll turn off. All of a sudden, you'll just fall to the ground. So if you're not over land, or if you're too high up, you're going to die. It's just, I hate this one. It's awful. But if you decide to do it, when you zone in, you'll get the quest Something Different to win a PvP brawl, and you're rewarded with Conquest, Honor, and Marks of Honor. Definitely stock up on those Marks of Honor, baby, because this is really good for the transmog. So, and that's it. That's what's going on this week. We don't have anything else coming up for this week. We do have I think it's next week is the Auction House Dance Party and a couple other things. But for right now, we're getting through. We've got the Greedy Emissary events, the Collector's Bounty events, and we've got the Winds of Mysterious Fortune that have just are going to roll around starting tomorrow, or Tuesday, I should say. So there you go. That's what's happening in World of Warcraft right now. So we're going to move on now to the main topic of the week, which is our interview with McFaithful. As I mentioned before, he's the Guildmaster for the Adept Scholars Society on Anniversary Classic. He's a really great guy, super highly organized. I've talked about this guild before. This is probably the most organized guild I've ever been in. And he goes into some detail about the backstory of that, and just really, I really enjoyed the interview. I thought it was great, and hopefully you do too. So here you go.
It's time for the main topic of the week.
Okay, we're going to be sitting down now with McFaithful. He's the guild master of the Adept Scholars Society, one of the largest guilds on the Anniversary Classic servers. And he's going to be talking to us about his guild, the joys and challenges of running a large community in World of Warcraft, and also what might be coming in World of Warcraft Classic over the next few years. Welcome, McFaithful, to the podcast.
Well, thank you for having me. Yeah, it's exciting to sit down and talk about the guild and be able to get some information out to folks about it. It's been quite a ride so far, and a lot more to come. So it's a good time to be having this conversation.
Definitely. Well, thank you for being here again. Let's start off with, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself? How'd you get into World of Warcraft? What led you down this rabbit hole of playing video games?
Yeah, so I started playing in the initial retail vanilla, not quite at launch, but December of that year, and I was 8 years old. So this has been life for me for quite some time now. Initially, my older brother, was the World of Warcraft player of the house. And both of my brothers played, in fact, and so he kind of showed me the game, and I wasn't good enough to have my own account at that point, so I was still playing on the trial accounts, and I'd get a character to 20, and then hell, I'm not even sure if I was able to make it to 20 at that point, and then fail off of it, and the trial would run out, and go make another email and make another account, and did that for a little while, probably a couple months, and then I finally got my own account, and still playing on it to this day. And so I got really serious about raiding. I got serious about raiding in TBC. Played not anything high end, pretty casual communities that I was involved with, but TBC also saw the beginning of my guild leadership experience. If you're doing the math, yeah, I was probably like 10 or something at that point. But again, it was like a friends and family guild, kind of small scale. And then Wrath came about, and that's when I got really serious about raiding. Ran 2 different guilds, and Wrath was a part of another. I played all the way up through Warlords of Draenor. I think that Warlords was kind of the death of WoW for me, and I've come back since then for Battle for Azeroth, for Shadowlands, for Legion, and played through those. But that's about my retail journey. I played 2019 Classic. I played Vanilla, not the end of Vanilla. I took a break and then came back for TBC. Had another very large guild there, not nearly as large as what we're running now. And played 2 private servers as well in my tenure. But that's kind of the long format view of where I started and how I got to where I am now running this on Anniversary.
Okay. And do you play other games besides WoW, or is it pretty much just WoW and then work?
Yeah, I'm kind of a one-trick pony. When I will say, when there were lulls in the game for me, when I was coming off a stint on retail, when I bailed out of Warlords, for instance, I used to play Call of Duty quite a lot. So if that was kind of my drop into game. You go from something like World of Warcraft, a lot of structure, a lot of scheduling, and then you can kind of do the drop-in games. And Warzone was a big one for me. That when I took my hiatus from Classic the last time around, getting to be able to be able to just drop in on that quite literally, for those who play Warzone.
Right.
But I enjoy FPS. I think one of the people I founded this guild with, Jim the Great, who's no longer with us, the real life called him away, but he and I would do duos in Warzone. So outside of that, I play one other really off the cuff, off the shelf game that no one's ever heard of, called War Selection, which is an RTS game that has been in beta for like 10 years. Okay. But that's my I need to hide from the world game.
Right, your personal space.
That's right.
Okay, all right, very cool. So let's talk about the guilds. You started this guild in the beginning of Anniversary. Was this formed previously in another iteration of Classic, or did you start fresh?
No, it's a fresh guild. So the I mentioned Jim the Great, and then Minari is the third. And the 3 of us were the original idea behind the guild. So Minari and I know each other from high school, and matter of fact, he and I both met Jim the Great on a private server, and basically, the idea was Minari found the announcement that Anniversary was coming back, and we got the Discord message with the link to the announcement and a question mark of we're gonna get the band back together for one last hurrah.
Right.
And the three of us decided yes we would, but maybe this time around we keep the guild small and make this like a relaxed playthrough.
Okay.
It didn't work out that way, but yeah. So that was kind of the plan. Is that we had gotten Minari had shot us the announcement, and we said yeah we'll come back. And I told them then, and I've said this several times since. This is gonna be my last playthrough. Wherever this server stops, wherever the guild hits its finale, that's probably going to be the end of my tenure on World of Warcraft, I think. So my parting gift is the Scholar Society community. So yeah, that was the start. We are a day one launch guild, so we've been around as long as Anniversary Classic server has been around. So too have we.
Okay. That's foreshadowing for later. We'll talk a little bit about the future in Classic Plus and all that. But so let's talk about this behemoth of a raid roster that you've created. You've got 5 raid teams. You have 3 or 4. Do we still have the Horde Guild, Guild Horde side?
Angry Scholar Society is still there. Yep.
Okay, so you have 4 guilds, 5 raid teams. How did that come about? What was that? Just a genesis of things happening, or did you sit down and plan it?
So none of it was planned from the beginning. I'll say that much. What ended up being when we hit about 700 members, and I think at that point we had only to date 3 raid teams when this happened. We kind of were planning ahead in terms of leadership. The Professor Core and the Preceptors and I were kind of sitting down and having conversation about where the guild was headed. One of the running jokes in the guild is that I get my dopamine fix from recruiting, and I do color myself very good at that process. So we were coming up on player cap, and guild player cap's 1,000 members in Classic right now, and so we were kind of thinking, well, what does that mean for us in terms of structure, community, and I do very much think even now in this game, if you're not growing, you're dying. And so we decided we were going to make a feeder guild. So in walks Aspiring Scholar Society, and the thing is that we'd structured that guild to be for levels 1 through 49, and then at level 50 you graduate up to the big guild, from the baby guild, as they've been affectionately named. And so when you do that graduation process, you come up, but that hit 1,000 members before the main guild did, and we were sitting there kind of thumbing through ideas of what we were going to do again, trying to keep things growing. And we just found that we had the recruitment capacity to have a second baby guild. So Adorable Scholar Society and Aspiring both accomplish the same tasks, being for levels 1 through 49. And I think we've had influxes. There's been ebbs and flows, obviously, but when they announced that SOD wasn't going to continue, there was a big influx of players coming here rather than going, for instance, to retail or to Cataclysm as it goes into Miss Pandaria. And so
Right.
We've been able to keep our numbers up in both of those guilds. And then Angry Scholar Society was a little bit more whimsical, a little less planning, and just maybe, can we take over the whole server by creating a horde side of things too. And that's been quieter, but one of the cool things I will say is that we recruited, I think we hit, and we're still at about 275 there. We hit a little over 350, I think, in our prime on that guild. And one of the really cool things to see was that a lot of Horde players who joined the guild, and particularly who joined the Discord, ended up re-rolling Alliance players who were either currently in or have recently graduated from the baby guild and into the big guild getting ready to raid with us now. So that's been cool to see.
Oh, that's kind of cool. Kind of like a backdoor recruiting tool into the main guild.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a little less direct, not necessarily intentional, but kind of a cool byproduct where people, and I think a lot of people this holds true is that there's a lot of attachment to which faction you play, and so to see people who are saying, no, I'm typically historically a Horde player, I'm going to stay Horde, to say, oh, but this community has a bigger draw to kind of pull me out of that typical track that I would play this game in, and I'll go and try the Alliance just so that I can be a part of that. So that was fun to see.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I'm Alliance for life. I've tried Horde so many times and I can never make it stick. So
I agree. Yeah, I had in the 2019 Classic, Minari and Jim had convinced me to do a Horde playthrough, and after having done the Horde playthrough for the vanilla and TBC, I will say without a doubt that Alliance is the better experience in my mind.
Yeah, the playthrough is just so much smoother. You don't have to spend 20 levels in the Barrens either.
Yeah, no kidding. I know. There's a couple of lulls in Alliance questing for sure. You hit those low 30s where STV could still be a little too much of a chore, and you're kind of turning your heads which way to go. But you're just slogging in Horde for so much of that experience leveling.
Yep. So you mentioned growth. Do you think that you're going to keep growing the guild throughout the rest of Vanilla and into TBC?
Yeah, I think that I think it's important to be a little specific about what we're talking about when we're saying growth there, and in terms of how we're going to grow. I think to this point, a lot of that's been focused on recruiting, and recruiting is never going to be something that goes away from the guild. I think it's what gives us the power and ability to do the things that we do. One of the things that I like about this guild running it, being in charge of this kind of a system, is that no individual has a lot of sway over what happens, because we have a next person up mentality on a lot of things. There's no you can't throw your parses around here and get away with it. You can't link the DFT you got or the Thunder Fury and expect that has earned you your permanent spot if you're going to cause problems. And recruiting is the number one way that we get that, is by getting new players in who are ready, eager, and excited to join us in these raids. So that's always going to be a part of it. Talk about growth in the raiding side of things. 5 raid teams is a fair amount to manage, and I will say I have a fantastic officer corps. Our officer corps is bifurcated, just for those interested in kind of the structure of the guild. We have 2 levels of management, or 3. So there's me at the top of the org chart. Under me is 3 preceptors. Very academic theme in the Scholar Society.
Right.
So there's three preceptors. Each of them is the head of a department. We have 3 departments in the guild: player development, guild operations, and strategic planning. Each of them has their own specific tasks. For instance, player development does class coaching and event planning. And then under them are professors. And so we have, professors who are event coordinators and player development. We have administrative clerks in guild operations. We have new position raid coordinator that's just starting in strategic planning. And then all of our assistant raid leaders, things like that. And the thing is that those people are incredible in terms of the amount of hours that they spend putting into the guild, and they're also likewise incredible in their performance for the guild. But at the end of the day, with every raid team, there's a certain amount of my attention necessary to see it be successful, and 5 seems like a good number.
Okay.
So I think perhaps right now, with this current system, and where we're at in the game, we probably won't see the birth of Raid Team 6, even though I've been tempted with the thought of a 6-pack of raid teams, but it may not ever see that day. I think it's just probably a little too much to balance, and I'm very conscious of not charting a path towards the storyline of Icarus here, and trying to fly a little too close to the sun.
Okay, yeah, I was going to ask how much heavy lifting you're doing, and it sounds like you're doing quite a bit. So,
yeah, well, for the raid teams in particular, too, the one thing that's the time sink is the consumable coordination. Obviously, this is one of our raiders, but we have a dues system where each raid member pays 5 gold a week, not a raid or an instance or anything like that. It's 5 gold for the week. So across 5 teams, it gives us about 1,000 gold to work with. And we use that for purchasing for consumables. And, right now, heading into AQ, we're planning on purchasing per raid team per week 2 Titan's flasks, 60 nature protection potions, and 30 frost oil. It's about 2,700 gold worth of materials weekly, so we're going to run at a deficit for a few weeks here for sure. But I have to monitor the auction pretty closely for a lot of that stuff. I have to plan whether we're going to just buy out the finished product, whether we're going to go to the logistical effort of having it crafted, because you take all those numbers I just give you, you multiply them by 5, and that's 1 week for our guild. So the guild banking alone could be a job, but unfortunately, because we have to do guild banking through an add-on with alts on my account, it's all still something that I can't delegate out to, which I otherwise might if we were in, say, TBC right now.
Right. Okay. Makes sense. So yeah, it's just the limitations of classic or vanilla, I should say.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's go back to recruiting for a second. So one of the things I wanted to ask about was how do you help new members feel like they're part of the community? It's easy to get lost in a community this large.
Yeah, I think that part of that is what you do with your community when you're small. And so we're a big community. I have to tell people when I'm recruiting, one of the things that I'll tell people very often is this is not just a body farm. So, I think a lot of times with the advent of these, mass whisper add-ons where people are just recruiting, for the sake of recruiting, just to kind of build it up, and then also you have the gold sellers who would create guilds, add people in, and use that for advertising purposes,
right?
Or boosting community that are trying to sell you on a boost, or stuff like that. There's a lot of things that I have to be cognizant of when I'm speaking to players to kind of allay fears or reservations about coming into this size of a community. Part of that is, I tell people it's not a body farm. And what I mean by that is you're not just here to be a number. We've been talking about in the guild recently that, quality and quantity are not mutually exclusive. I think often quantity is the death of quality for people who don't put as much attention into the details, but it doesn't have to be. And I think we've created a really good balance of the two here. And so, I have to be conscious of that when I'm talking to people recruiting. And so that happens in those initial whispers with people, but it also happens when they get into the guild. And one thing that I really enjoy about here and with the Scholar Society community is, even at the size we are, when somebody joins the guild, 7 to 8, 10, 20 people are going to say welcome to you.
Right.
If somebody, often I will tell you, hey, join the Discord. And I do tell people that the guild comes alive if you just join Discord. Saying in the guild, I think a lot of times people might feel more isolated. And so being cognizant of that, we're actually creating another position in guild operations to do outreach to new members, to send in-game mail to our new members, to send whispers to new members and say, hey, there is a big community ready to welcome you in and help you find what you need. Just join our Discord. Here's the information.
Right.
So I think that's one of those, being proactive about that, being conscious of what the new member experience is really critical to being able to keep them engaged in the guild, to keep our retention numbers up, because that's also something we track is, who joins the guild, how long do they stay, what do they do while they're here. We're really data driven in the guild for something of this size. You kind of have to be. We do a lot of our decisions based on the numbers that we're going through. And so, taking all of that and then reassessing pretty often are some of our major tactics. There's a lot of legacy information. We can't always cover the same thing 100 times, so we try and really provide at least links to or places to find information that's been covered before for people, so that they at least have access to that too.
Right, the good old FAQ, right?
That's right. I think there's 104 questions on the FAQ page.
That's a lot.
Yeah, not all of them are necessary, I'm sure, but anybody who wanted to read them, they're there. You can get it all. And we also do a monthly guild meeting where I talk for what's supposed to be an hour. It usually goes an hour 15. I'd imagine as a podcaster you could appreciate that.
Yes, definitely.
So we usually have those on the third Wednesday of the month, and those all get published to YouTube. So the links are available to those for people to go back and kind of get updated on our evolution from February was the first one, and we've done one each month since.
Mm-hmm. And as far as the guild itself and kind of keeping order, how do you handle drama? Is this something that you've got to come in and lay down the hammer, or do you have an executioner for or your enforcer?
So there's two kinds of drama in a WoW guild. There's small potatoes, stuff that happens regularly, and I don't touch. And then there's the larger scale, where it's really situation by situation in terms of whether I'm going to get involved. Small scale stuff are, hey, we just invited this person who started spamming slurs in guild chat. All right, everybody knows if you have permissions to guild kick, just get them out. There's no, you don't need to, don't talk to me about it. Take a screenshot of it, post it in the leadership channel, and move on. And
there's no
that's happened a couple of times. Exactly, that's exactly right. No one's questioning that decision. No one's looking back. Well, did you talk to them? Did you send them a message? Did you give them a chance? Did they appeal this? No. You do stupid stuff, and you're gonna be out. But then there's the bigger drama that happens, and in that, I think loot's probably the best and most accessible example of quote-unquote drama that happens in a guild. And when it comes to drama in a guild, we run loot council, just for context. When it comes to drama with loot or something larger scale with that, the biggest thing that I can do with dealing with that are two things. The first is to rely on the chain of command, and the second is not to undermine the decisions of those below me. So what I do in those situations are, somebody has an issue with a decision a loot council made, who got this piece, what's been happening historically on a team with loot, and they come directly to me. The first question I ask them is not, okay, what happened? It is, have you spoken to your loot council? Have you spoken to the raid leader about this?
Right.
And people now know and have gotten very accustomed to using that chain of command. And then the other side of that is, people try and answer shop, response shop for what they think is the answer that they want to get. And so I'm really conscious in dealing with things like this to say, okay, great, I'm so glad you just told me everything that just happened and all of your side of the story. We're going to now stop talking. You're going to get no response or reaction from me. And I'm going to go and find the leadership side of this and talk to them. And talk to my officers and say, okay, hey, this is, here is everything that was just said. Discuss.
Yeah. It's like being a parent, And mom said no, let's see what dad says.
Yeah, it's actually kind of funny. We have he probably would rather I don't say this, but I think it's funny. We for this exact reason we call him Mama Minari. That very often Minari is the person fielding that side of the equation. So it's funny you mentioned that as an analogy to this situation, but it very much holds true.
Right. All right.
He's your raid leader, isn't he?
No,
I'm not
going to say
story.
I'm not going to say anything. It's this doesn't go out on the internet or anything. So
Yeah, no, I know that's right.
all right. Let's one more thing I wanted to ask about, which is your guild events. How do you come up with the ideas for the guild events? How do you coordinate those?
Yeah, so that, like I had mentioned before, we have a whole department that's in charge of doing that, which is player development. And so they're I think they have a bi-weekly standing meeting where they kind of spitball events. And right now we're kind of doing monthly, larger scale kind of marquee events, like we just had yesterday, as of this recording, the level 60 dueling tournament. Had I think 17 people out in an island in Loch dueling for the title of the Grand Assassin.
Yep.
And so we do large scale stuff like that. A lot of the conceptual side of that is done in those kind of meetings with player development. There's also some historical ones that have been run in my guilds in the past. We did the Naked Gnome race, was one of our first. The video of that is online on YouTube.
Right. That was quite a good time.
It was. Everyone got stuck out in the Badlands when they realized that there were stealth panthers that were going to come out and destroy their level 1 gnomes, which was particularly enjoyable. Yep. Also, the point in time where we had half of our race contestants quit the race. So. Yeah, that's the big thing. A lot of the reason behind the guild events too. It obviously helps with retention. There's more to do, something to get away from the monotony, perhaps, of raiding, farming, and then the other half of that is that it's a really good way to come out of the level confines of the game, where it matters whether you're a 33 paladin or a 60 mage in terms of what you can and cannot do. And create something that's going on that allows some cohesion between our leveling community and our endgame content community. So, those are events where all of our members from Adorable, Aspiring, Angry, and Adept can kind of come together and participate in the community at one time. And we're trying to get those a little more frequently. We'll probably start moving into bi-weekly events and then do, perhaps some smaller weekly ones in between.
Right. That's good. It helps keep people engaged. I think it's really important. People go, is there anybody available to do XYZ? And then if there's nothing going on, there's no dungeons being run, there's no events in game, people get bored and they leave. So
yeah, exactly. And I think that holds true too, and is a really good reason for the recruiting side of things as well, right? Yeah. Keeping fresh bodies who are always engaged to do that content helps, but then to give everyone a break from that. I mean, think of what we're doing right now with Scarab Lord farming. 24 hours a day. We're on day 3, I think, right now. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, day 4. Excuse me.
Oh, it's 4.
Well, 3.5. Yeah, it launched late on Thursday, so
lost track of time
or not. It's all blurring together. But you think of something like that. We interrupted it for 2 hours to do that dueling tournament, and. Yep. It's a much needed relief from some of those grinds that we're coordinating, and for officers too, to kind of be able to, in a less structured environment, be able to kind of get to know some of the people who we may not be able to play with, which has been another great aspect of Scarab Lord, matter of fact.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Getting to know people outside of your raid team, so that's definitely good. All right, we're gonna transition here. And I want to talk a little bit about Classic and the Classic kind of ecosystem. So before we delve too deeply into that, I wanted to ask your opinion. Do you feel like Classic attracts a different kind of person or a different kind of player than Modern WoW or Retail WoW?
Yeah, for sure. No question about that. I think that the Retail, the way that the game is structured, in my personal opinion, today, the byproduct of the structure of that game is very much a lot of the toxicity that's complained of, that's experienced by members of that community daily.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that Classic brings people back for the nostalgia factor, and also even people new to World of Warcraft who haven't actually experienced the game at all are somehow finding their way to this. And there's also even some of the we call them sweatier players, right? But even some of the sweatier players who played through in really, really hardcore environments in 2019 just want a more relaxed playthrough. So I think that the caliber of player you're getting in Classic Anniversary is still really high skill value, but the personality of those players is dramatically different.
Yeah. I would have to agree with that. It's definitely a very different environment over here. It feels more, I don't know, homey, I guess could be a word that you would use to describe it. I don't know. It's
Sure.
It's definitely got a different vibe. So
yeah, well, I mean, think of an average player's experience in Mythic Plus.
right.
It's sink or swim.
Yep.
You get into one of them, and it's sink or swim. There is no room for learning. There is no room for improvement. You pull your weight. You pull it now. And if you don't cut the mustard, you're going to see the bad side of a vote to kick, and there is no exception to that rule by and large.
Right.
You come into Anniversary, and there's more room for learning. There's more explanation. There's more time to explain to people how the game works and how you're supposed to run this. You get into a Strat Live run, and it's like, oh, hey, I didn't know about round robining on Righteous Orb. Okay, well, here's how it works. Are you good with that? Yeah, okay, sure. And then you expand it out into the guild. We don't have parsing requirements. If you're willing to commit to the 2 nights a week that your raid team runs and the schedule works for you, come on in, and we will meet you where you're at with a class coach who's ready and able to help explain how this game works to you.
Right. So that actually segues really nicely into what I wanted to ask you about Season of Discovery. Did you try that at all? Did you get into that?
No, I didn't. And this I got another one of the messages from Minari, similar to when we decided to do Anniversary, along the lines of, hey, this is coming out, we should try this. That one I didn't give him the answer he was looking for. The concept itself didn't really appeal to me. I'm a little bit too much of a purist, I guess, when I'm talking about my nostalgia, so I didn't really explore through Season of Discovery much.
Okay. So as far as the seasonal servers and the potential for Classic Plus, that's not something that is exciting for someone like you?
It's not, as only insofar as to, as I'd mentioned before, this is the last my last playthrough for WoW, and so I'm really enjoying the kind of more purist playthrough. I think that it's interesting that they're looking through for WoW, Classic Plus content and kind of expanding the boundaries using the same kind of game engine. I was just on YouTube, and something popped up on my feed was one of the Blizzard conferences where I forget who, but one of the game masters had been asked, whether or not they wanted. This was pre-Classic 2019, obviously, but whether or not they wanted Classic to be a thing, and they said, no, you wouldn't even want that. Think of all the things we fixed for you over the years that you would hate to have back. And it's really nice to see that they've gone from that internal mentality and actually listened to the community, given us what we wanted, profited from it tremendously, and are now looking to kind of expand that. So that's a nice kind of sea change for Blizzard during some of its darker days.
Yeah,
but yeah, so it is. I do like that they're exploring that. I know people were somewhat disappointed with the ending of Season of Discovery, even though it seemed a little inevitable. And then but that the story is not finished. That there's something else on the horizon. It's good to hear.
Right. Yeah, it's the good old Jay Allen Brack, you think you do but you don't interview, and Mike Morheim coming in, but look at all the things that we fixed and all the things that we've changed. Yeah. It's definitely true that I think a lot of WoW players, they think they want a lot more than they actually do, and they ask for all of these changes, and then they get them and they go, well, actually, because I think a lot of people really enjoyed Season of Discovery, but it was not for everyone. It certainly was not everyone's cup of tea. I quit about level 50. I just couldn't do it. So that it definitely wasn't for me. As far as the current iteration of Classic, how do you feel about this, the whole idea of the anniversary? Do you like what Blizzard's doing? Or are you kind of like, well, I mean, it's Classic, so I'll do it, but I don't love the changes that they've made. I don't love the direction that they're going with Burning Crusade already being announced.
Well, no, I'm actually pretty on board for the direction for anniversary side of things right now. I wish that they would give us a little bit, and I can kind of somewhat understand why they haven't, but I wish I kind of signaled a little bit more of their plans going forward. I am one of the class of people saying, of course, they're going to go into Wrath of the Lich King, where there is a substantial number of people who go, well, of course, they're not going to go past Burning Crusade. The idea of anniversary itself, though, 100% on board with it. Not just because I'm here playing it now, but I think there were a lot of people in 2019. There was nothing going on in the world in 2019, right? Nothing happening of any consequence.
Right.
And so I think for Blizzard to give people a second chance at experiencing this was really smart. And as one of the people who wanted to take advantage of it, I can appreciate the fact that it's here, and also now having experienced this community compared to the last 2019 Classic community, I do think that the people you're playing with are also a lot more calm, cool, and committed. So I think it's made for a really, really great experience personally.
Okay. Yeah, no, I definitely have to agree with that. I think it's very different. The 2019 felt very almost frenetic, where it was just this constant chaos of gotta get things done. And while yes, there is I'm trying to get the R14 grind, or we're doing 5 Scarab Lords, there's certainly a more relaxed feel this time around. I definitely would agree with that.
Yeah, and there's also, you mentioned the Rank 14 grind. Like, there's also some mechanical changes that they made to the game. I talked about being a purist before, and so I guess, you think about the idea of dual spec, or the addition of, the no decay on the Rank 14 grind. And I will say, I think that those are all really positive things. Dual spec in particular is probably the singular most impactful decision that they made to change. The price of changing specs was so prohibitive, even into TBC, depending on what you were doing. And so having that dual spec embedded in the game, only 50 gold, available at level 40, super impactful. I remember when we were leveling in November and December, being a priest and, leveling in discipline first, but then being able to off spec into shadow, and even now being able to run a holy tree and a discipline tree, depending on whether I want the increased healing or PI, like really impactful changes that they made to the game and player experience that have been for the better. Everybody always wants more, but you have to put the line somewhere. Why didn't they add the guild bank? Why didn't they add this, that, and the other thing? And I think personally, I think that they did draw a good line, because there's other expansions to come out. And what excitement will there be for TBC, except for the new quests and raids, which is a big thing, don't get me wrong. But, if they had added in guild banks, you're not going to get any benefit to guilds in TBC launch. If there's a couple of things, that's still left that we can be excited about for future launches.
So that actually goes right into the next question, which is, do you think WoW needs...
I promise you didn't give me any of these, by the way, for your viewers out there. I'm not just that good.
Oh, no, he is. Do you think WoW needs better tools for guild alliances and cross-guild coordination?
I think the answer to that in retail is probably yes.
Yeah.
I think that the answer to that in Classic is a resounding no.
Okay.
And I'll give a little explanation on that. I think that the retail experience very much is not guild centered as much as it was. It's easier to do things on your own, to do things in smaller communities, and I think that people who try and create the more old school feel of a guild probably need some more help, more outlets to combine, connect, and succeed. On the classic front, I think that a lot of people create kind of guild alliances, we'll call it, and the idea being, hey, we have 10 people, we have 15 people, we have 20 people, okay, together we can kind of create this 40-person team, but none of us are giving up autonomy. I think in that respect it's good, but from my way of thinking, I think that guild community, guild identity is really important in Classic Anniversary, and I would not want to increase our interactions, I guess, with people who are not part of that community, who are not kind of committed to the same social structure and requirements and community guidelines, and so I think I think that I would probably say no on the classic side of things, just because of that. It's funny, you could play in this guild and essentially wipe away the rest of the realm if you wanted to. We are really self-sufficient at this size and scale. So which is something I really value. Not to say we're not we're not personable. We're not going to shun other guilds or should talk. It's just that we're in a position where we don't have to notice them, which is really nice.
Right. Yeah. It's rare, I think, to have a guild with this many individual players, not necessarily individual characters, because you can have 1,000 characters in a guild, but that doesn't mean you have 1,000 people. We've got a lot of people. So
I think we just ran the numbers the other day, and I think we have something like 800 individual accounts, and obviously you got a couple dual boxers where that number is going to be skewed, but also bear in mind that that's only one of the 3 guilds. So I think our actual unique account number across all of our guilds is somewhere around 2,800 right now.
Jeez. Okay. So with that, would there be any quality of life tools you would want to see in Classic? I mean, not even just in vanilla, but going into TBC and potentially into Wrath of the Lich King. Something borrowed from retail, something completely made up. Is there any quality of life that you would want to see added to the game to help manage not just a guild, but just to play the game?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I actually had just come out of a conversation with one of our members who were interviewing for a leadership position, and part of the thing that we were just talking about with him was how much we have available in terms of tools and the powerful tools that we have for kind of coordinating this kind of a system. And so going from that conversation where we're talking about how grateful we are for all the things that we have now, your question is, well, what more can I get?
Right.
I'm not sure that there's much else. There's little things I could nitpick in terms of
Sure.
quality of life. There's, small things, I wish this add-on, did X, Y, or Z a little bit better, but this is the second time around for this content in the last 6 years, and I think that we've hit a really good balance. I think that what's left to be adjusted is changing more of the player's mentality than the actual tools we use to interface with the game.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like you trust the independent add-on developers more than you would trust Blizzard to create a tool for the game?
Oh, that's a timely question too, especially given the war on developers as it's going on right now. I trust that independent add-on developers are better capable of responding to the moment-to-moment needs of players better. I think that Blizzard can take a lot of the long-term standing add-ons, and they have through the history of development of World of Warcraft, and incorporated things that were previously add-ons into the game, right? That's no different. But to try and do it in one fell swoop, at the same time where there's some questions or concerns about their actual workforce and the quantity of people that they have doing things, and to what extent they're relying on AI bots to do things now. And I don't think it's a smart move that they take over that realm when you have so many passionate people. In many cases, some of them are earning a living from community member donations, in crowdfunding sense. Just leave it where it is. Don't fix what's not broken. I don't think that anyone can say in 20 years of add-on development that this system is just so broken that it needed to be stepped in. If you want something that the community wants Blizzard to step in on, that is actually broken, that needs to be fixed, let's focus the time, effort, and manpower on dealing with gold buying and selling, with bot farming and things like that.
Man, you're so prescient with your answers, because my next question was about some controversial features that we would want to see added, or maybe added, because Wrath of Lich King Classic famously added the WoW token. What are your thoughts on that this time around?
I don't think it helped. I really, when they introduced the WoW token I think it was released Warlords of Draenor, if I'm not mistaken.
In the original WoW, yeah.
In the original retail, right? And as I just mentioned, I personally view Warlords of Draenor as the beginning of the end to my retail experience, and so I'm very wary about anything that they added in that day and age. I think you have a lot of problems with the economics of the server when you start adding in WoW tokens into things.
Right.
And there's unintended consequences. And Blizzard are, by and by, are game developers, not economists. I think that they should be putting their time into ending the bot farming, ending the gold buying and selling, which right now, at least publicly, what you hear about are them targeting the buyers in order to reduce the demand in the market. I just don't think that stuff like that helps the way that they think it does. I don't think it adds a lot of value to the game for members. I think it promotes perhaps some more toxic habits around them. So I don't know. I don't think it's a beneficial feature.
Yeah, it's definitely probably one of the most controversial subjects that has come up. Not just the WoW token itself, but the gold selling and buying, and the bot farming. I mean, there's people have opinions on that, very very wide ranging. So nice job not stepping on any landmines there. That's
I'm glad to hear. I'll report back to leadership that I haven't sullied anything for us.
All right. So yeah, you said this is your last hurrah. What are you gonna do after that? You gonna go play something else, or you just gonna go work for a living?
Yeah, I think at that point, well, the funny thing is that when I started the guild, I was finishing up law school, and so I think that with a new career on the horizon and things to do and people to see, and I can start making a name for myself in the real world, and so I think I'll finish this up, enjoy it while it's here. And then move on to a phase of life where I can tell people about that time when I ran a 3,000 person community on World of Warcraft.
You can definitely put that on your resume. People really respond to that sort of thing nowadays. I guess it's job market dependent, but yeah, I work in IT, so
I had it, but career services suggested I remove it. So here we are.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to ask you one last question and let you just kind of, however you want to respond to it. In terms of the overall health of the game, in terms of the future of the game, do you think in 5 years we're still going to be playing World of Warcraft Classic? Do you think they're going to merge things up with retail? Do you think they're going to end Classic once the progression servers get to Legion, or what are your thoughts on kind of the next few years of Classic?
Yeah, that's interesting. The answer unequivocally is yes. I think that people will still be playing Classic in 5 years. Even just looking, I don't know how many will be playing, but I think people will be playing. I think that Blizzard will kind of have to come to terms with the fact that if they're not going to offer it, there is some organization of people who will endeavor to put it together. When they thought they had beaten Nostalrius and gotten an agreement to shut down their game seed to end, that private server, in walked the Elysium project to take it over. And this is all ahead of 2019 Classic, obviously. Elysium, you're talking 2017. Nostalrius obviously significantly predates that. And
Right.
I think Blizzard realizes that there's still meat on the bone from a bottom line perspective. And so I think that they'll still offer it. The question is, will they just keep restarting servers like Anniversary? When is enough? I think that Missa Pandaria is going to be really enlightening for all of these people who think that they know, to really test whether they do or not,
Right.
as to whether or not this thing has legs to go the distance into future expansions. I will say what I expect is Mist will fall off faster than other expansions have. I think that the player base, the ones who are committed to playing WoW, will find their way to Anniversary at that point, likely, in full swing in TBC, maybe further on down the line than that. But I think that there's always going to be a WoW Classic at this point. Blizzard's kind of found its place in the market, and when you have people who are passionate about products that you've already released, it can remove the pressure on you to have to deliver new, exciting content, which maybe in and of itself will give Blizzard an opportunity to kind of break through a slump and either kind of release a new game that has legs, or to revamp WoW to something that's going to capture the same level of excitement that the player base had in 2004.
Right, like a Classic Plus that will keep the same feel and vibe of the original game, but definitely goes in a different direction, keeps people interested. Because I know a lot of people have kind of said, I'm not going through Classic again. I've already done that grind. I'm done with it. So
yeah, and I think that a lot of things too, and perhaps this will be a shameless plug as our time draws to a close, but Classic is, to a greater extent than any other game, is impacted by the people you play with, and the community you're involved with in terms of your quality of life, and the enjoyment you feel out of the game. And so getting into a group of people in Classic during your playthrough that you enjoy, that's well organized, that's defeating content but doing it in a way that's not a job, that's not stressful, really is what will make this content enjoyable for you. And so I think if anybody has that opinion, who is of that mind, who may not think that Classic is worth the grind yet again, I'd invite them to come back, to look up Adept Scholar Society, to join and to give it a second try, because one thing I can tell them is, despite the workload, despite the effort that's going into keeping this thing running, it is the most fun I have had in 20 years of World of Warcraft gameplay. It is the least drama, the least pressure that I've felt out of all of the prior iterations going back to 2004. We've really kind of captured lightning in a bottle here, so I really do advise people who are of that mind that Classic's not for me. I've done the grind. It's just a grind. There's nothing redeeming about it. To come back and to see if we might be able to prove them wrong.
Okay, that sounds great. Before we wrap up, do you have anything else you want to add in? Any shout outs you want to give? Anything you want to share?
Just as a shout out, I'd like to thank all of the wives and husbands of our raiders who allow us to have 30 hours of raids scheduled 7 days a week with 200 raiders, and no explosions happening in hot mics for people who are on the game, because we have a large group of people who have a real life, so we know it's a sacrifice for them to have our people here, and then also to our rank and file up and down the line. I know it's been an experience for them to kind of see us grow, and some people along the way have said it's just getting too big. This isn't just because of the numbers. I'm not interested in it, but the ones who have stuck it out and who have gone through some of the growing pains, we got things organized in a larger scale, and who helped us keep the heart and soul of our community. We're really grateful to them. And then I couldn't do this obviously without the 25, I think now, officers that I have who are lightening the load for all of this development and growth that we've talked about.
It's impressive. And so the last thing is, where can listeners get a hold of you, the guild, or whatever they want to do? Is there a link you want to give out, or a social media or anything like that you want to share?
Yeah, sure. I mean, so we're pretty open community. It's hard to miss us. So you can find us. Obviously, if you have a World of Warcraft subscription, just log into the anniversary server on Dream Scythe US. You can send a message. If you /who Adept Scholar Society, at any time of the day, you'll find between 30 and 170 people online. Send somebody a message and they can get you into the guild. It's as easy as that. As far as Discord, we are a closed Discord insofar as we prefer only guild members to join it. But if you're curious about getting involved with the guild and you want more information, hop on in, find an officer. They can get you hooked up. The Discord invite is https://discord.gg/ and then it's Adept Scholar Society, not plural as the guild is spelled.
Okay. That works. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. It's been great having a conversation with you, and it's been great running content with you in Anniversary. So thank you so much.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. It was a pleasure. It's always fun to kind of get to talk about the successes we've had and where the game is, and we've for your listeners, he's been a pleasure to have. I was about to say Cenarian, but I think most of them would know you as Denethar, right? So
yes, right.
have to say he's been a welcome addition to the guild on his hunter Minari. Mama Minari on Raid Team 5 speaks very highly of him, so we're happy to have him, and thank you for having me on, and wish you guys all the best with the podcast. We're definitely gonna to get this out there and share you with our community at large, and hopefully up your listeners.
Well, that sounds great to me. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Take care.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap up our show for this week. Thank you so much for listening and for watching. I really do appreciate it. It is always a pleasure and a privilege for me to get on this microphone and speak to you. If you have any questions or comments about the podcast, or if you have a particular topic that you'd like to hear discussed, please email us at azerothunitedpod@gmail.com. You can also check out our website. It's azerothunitedpod.com. That'll have links to our Discord server, which you can log on to and start the conversations over there. We've got a few people over there already. We're slowly building it up. It's taking some time, but we'll get there. If you want to get hold of me directly, you can reach out to me on Twitter. I am at Denethar on that platform. I'm also at Denethar on Blue Sky, but I don't check that one as often, just because I thought Blue Sky was going to be a thing, and it is a thing. But most of the people that I follow and talk to are on Twitter, so it's where I'm stuck staying. So if you're enjoying the show, and you'd like to help us out, there's a couple ways you can do that. You could leave us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. That really helps out the distribution. So if you are inclined to do so, I'd be very grateful. Apple Podcasts in particular that's how everything is driven for podcast distribution. Everybody looks to Apple first, Spotify second, and then whatever else third, social media engagement, all these other things. So Apple Podcasts, definitely the number one way to increase podcast distribution. So if you'd like to help us out, that would be super amazing. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can help us out by giving us a like, comment, and a subscribe. That really helps out that algorithm. And then the third way that you can do that is through Patreon. Patreon is where people can sign up to be a patron. We have 3 different tiers of patrons, from our free membership to our top membership, which is friend of the show. And these are people who give their IRL money to help out the production of Azeroth United. Really appreciate it. I'd like to take a moment to thank our patrons. That's Judge Omni, Stuglife, Thelial, and Greybeard. You all have been amazing, and I definitely appreciate your support. You certainly help make Azeroth United possible. And that's it. That's going to wrap up everything. So thank you again for listening. And remember to be good to each other out there. That's a real life person on the other side of that keyboard, and maybe they're doing their Scarab Lord grind, or maybe they're farming mounts in retail. It doesn't matter. You can still be nice and be friendly, because we're all playing a video game and we should all enjoy our time in said video game. So just remember to smile and be nice and have fun. All right, take care. I love you all, and I'll see you in Azeroth.